Always dress the part, Jenkins. Yeah, you look a right part. Hello, welcome to Tweed's Garage. In this video, a few workshop hints and tips on two subjects. One, removing locating dowels or locating pins from things, which can be a bit of a problem. And the other thing, it will set YouTube world alight. Machinists will explode around the world. Typewriters will be fired up. Hatred will be sent. But you know, sometimes you've got to work with what you got. And yeah, just because they got the machine don't mean they do it properly. All right, so there'll be that coming as well. So the first thing to do was dowel pins. You know, these locating dowel pins. So you get them in, I've got them on the latest project, the Scott gearbox. Unfortunately, the things I was working on, that I came up with these two ways to get the dowel pins out, have been and gone. But I needed to get them out because I needed to machine the faces of the flywheels. So the first one was really easy because it was flat. You had access to get things on around the dowel pin. So this is the first way. So one way I'll do it, I've got some ER32 collets. So if you have a collet set and a square collet block, find a collet that your stud will fit in, and then pop the collet block in the vise. We're just going to pre-warm the aluminium around this locating stud just to assist it coming out. But then you get a nice even grip around the pin rather than, you know, risk flattening the sides off if you try and grip it in the vise. And what normally happens is it starts swinging around and it galls all the surface up and you have to clean it up. So this way, if it's going to come out, you won't damage it. But this is only any good if you've got clearance around the dowel pin to get the collet assembly into it. So I'll come up with another solution that I will show you. When I had a job that I couldn't get around it, that's it, just slop it in there, tighten that up. Now I'm prepared for the camera. Where is it? There it is. Now, the flywheels I was working on, what I'd done was supported the weight of the flywheel and then tap the top of the flywheel, trying to sort of keep the effort even top and bottom so it drove out straight, and that come out really well. But there you see, it grips that perfectly, and you just give it a little wiggle and out it comes, no drama. So collet blocks come in handy for a multitude of things. There we go, one dowel pin ready to go back in again. Right, and the other way. Okay, I hear you. We haven't got the tools and we haven't got the collet blocks, Mr. Tweed. We're not as well equipped as you. Thank you for saying. Anyway, but there is another way that I came up with, and this was out of desperation because the next flywheel had the sort of the flywheel clutch face surface. Drop that. I'll pick it up before it leaks. And then it had a little recess that the actual clutch assembly sits into, and then the locating dowels were in that. That's gone as well, but I'll show you some pictures as I'm talking. Sort of show and tell. So yeah, I couldn't get the collets on to those dowel pins because I couldn't get them down deep enough. They'd hit the flange on the outside of the flywheel. So I came up with another system dead easy if you've got a welder. I haven't got a welder, Mr. Tweed. You may know somebody who has. But yeah, you know, a lot of you out there have got them, and in desperate times, you know, you can get them out this way. All right, we'll go down to the bench for this one. It's very untidy. Bear with me. Gearbox dramas, we're trying to work through it, okay? You'll find out about it another time. So the second way to get dowel pins out is, as I said, the flywheel I couldn't get in around it because it was sort of recessed down, and couldn't get the collet blocks on. And I had a little think about it, and what I come up with was you get a nut like you do trying to get out a broken bolt or something, and because normally these locating pins, they're sort of rounded or they've got a nice big chamfer at the end, you just get a nut that will sit over the chamfer, but the insides of the threads will stop it falling down below the last sort of level, sort of that last line of the chamfer, so it just sort of sit on top like that. Yeah, you don't need to be accurate about it, and then just get your MIG welder, TIG welder, and then just fill it up down the middle. And because you're getting a reasonably big nut to go around there, you've got loads of space to get in there and MIG that up to the top. So you get two effects there. You get it sort of heating and cooling to help sort of break any rust that might have locked it in there. Just ease that up a bit. Yeah, and then when it's cooled down, all you do, I suppose you could put a spanner on it and try and twist it, but you still got to lift it up. But because it was against the flat surface, against the flywheel, it allowed me to get underneath with a little lever bar and then just gently lever the nut each side and just wiggle, and then just work the dowel pin out of the hole. And that worked like a charm. So then you end up with what looks like a blind bolt, and then you stick it in the lathe. Oh, but we haven't got a lathe, Mr. Tweed. Well, you can do the same thing with an angle grinder. Take it a bit longer, but you pop it in the lathe and then just start turning the nut down. You don't machine over the dowel, just as far to the sort of bottom of the nut as you can get. And then you'll find you'll get to a point where it will break through, sort of here in the chamfer, it will break through the thread and break through here, and you'll see where the dowel starts and the weld finishes. And then I just sort of turn the rest of it down, job done. But once you've got that, you knew where the top of the dowel was, you know, you could cut it off with a hacksaw, or you could grind it off with the angle grinder, you know, and then the bottom bit of the nut will fall off, and then you can just clean up the end of your dowel. And once you've done your job you need to do, just pop it back in, give it a tap back in its own position, and off you go. So there you go, another two ways of removing locating pins, locating dowels, without destroying them and being able to use them again. Yeah? Okay, next thing is skimming cylinder heads on the Bridgeport mill. Brace yourself, brace yourself. Yeah, I can see him thumping away on the keyboard now. Oh, Mr. Tweed, it's just a glorified drill press, you can't use that for doing accurate skimming and all that. Well, maybe not, or maybe you can. You just got to take a bit of care, a bit of time. You know, just because a shop's got a skimming machine purely for cylinder heads doesn't mean, one, it ain't worn out, two, the guy knows what he's doing, or three, he really cares. You know, just wants your money. So yeah, you know, majority of them are probably good, but sometimes you'll get them, they'll just slam it on there, run it through, they won't watch it, they won't, you know, they'll just skim it off till it's clean. Job done, there you go, money, thank you very much, see you later. Okay, But that's not the Tweedy way. We sort of check through it and do it as best we can on the equipment we have. So here we go, skimming cylinder heads on the Bridgeport. So this is an example of the heads that I get, and you can see why this is why machine shops don't like doing engine work, because they get delivered, you know, the guy's running a business, really busy, heads get ripped off, he sort of does a quick sloosh down, puts them in a seat cover and delivers them. Some are cleaner than others. This one was pretty oily, so left it on a pig mat for a while just to sort of drain off, and now we're sort of looking at it. So first thing to do is, this is a nice flat surface on the top side, so these ones I just flip them over, rest them straight on the milling table. Sometimes you rest them on parallels at each end to bolt them down. It just depends. If I bolt it down, it rocks all over the place, and I may put it on parallels, but it makes it a lot easier to clamp this down if I can clamp it flat to the table. And I just go over them, as you can see, cleans them off fairly well, but there's you know, there was bits of silicon gasket here and here, and then this sort of carbon varnish build up between the mounting surfaces. So I go over it with a plastic razor blade to get the worst of it off, and then just to clean this sort of lacquer up, because the next process is stoning it, and I don't want to get this crap embedded in my stones if I can get away with it. So yeah, you just go around very carefully, just take that, you're only taking the lacquer off. But yeah, you really need to stone these before bolting them down, because you never know what's happened to them. And a lot of them, they do have burrs on these edges sometimes that haven't been dealt with, so you get a little high spot there. But yeah, I've highlighted the problems we've got here. There's been a bit of whelping going on along this edge to get the cover off, so we've got a burr there, burr there, burr there. So we'll just run the old whetstone over the top, take any high spots off, and then we're ready to flip it over, bolt it down and clock the other side. We've trammed the head in, plenty of videos on tramming the head in. Many engine shops will be apoplectic that we're doing this on a Bridgeport. They normally do it on a machine that's purely for skimming cylinder heads, but you know, needs must when the devil drives and all that. So you just got to make sure the head's trammed in, because on the Bridgeport the head goes this way and it goes that way, so you need to sort of tram it in to make sure it's as parallel as possible. You'll never get it 100% perfect, but nearly spot on is good. And we're not doing a huge cut, using a fly cutter. This is my old faithful for skimming the heads. But what people say is, if it's not perfectly parallel and you've got a fly cutter going across and it's sort of tilting an exaggerated angle like this, it's actually cutting a scallop rather than a flat surface. But it sort of works to your advantage slightly. There always seems to be a slight, not side to side, but front to back. One side will cut as it comes in when it's on a long stretch like this. You'll find that it's below thousands of an inch sort of thing. It's a tiny amount, but you'll find that when you sweep in, one side of the fly cutter will cut lower than the back side sort of thing. So the way you want it is that when it comes in, the high side goes first, and then the back side comes in and does a cleaning cut along the top. And yeah, you know, as long as it's in as close as you can tram it, it will be fine. How do I know this? Because I've done plenty of heads and none of them have come back. Right, so we're just going live cam because just get the video made quicker. So yeah, you can hear those high spots. Just sweep it over there. Doesn't take much to knock them off. There's another one there we didn't see. and we'll just run it all the way over. You can hear it kicking little edges down as it goes. Try and keep it spread over as many surfaces as you can to keep it flat. And you're not surfacing the head, you're just taking those high spots down. See, there, yeah, just the, yeah. Bit of an edge there somewhere. Yeah, there. But I find these aluminium heads, they bloody bend and warp all over the place, these modern ones. So they may have left the factory flat, but once they've done a few thousand miles, 100,000 miles, they, yeah, they can be all over the shop. Right, and then we'll just finish off with the smooth side. Yeah, there's a nice smooth sound. You can't hear any grating as it's hitting any high spots. Just double check over there again. There we go, that'll do. Now we'll just clean it off. Yeah, you can see there we've hit that high spot there. And there was a couple here where, you know, somebody's prized something underneath to get the cover off. And we'll do the same thing with the table. We'll just run the stone over it, make sure I haven't banged it with spanners or tools since the last time I checked it. So we'll do that. Just quickly run this over. Oh, sounds pretty good. So we've got the head all clamped down. We've got a straight edge here bolted to the table to stop this shifting this way, and clamped onto a ridge on the casting. They are really tricky to clamp, some of these cylinder heads. I think the worst one I had was a Land Rover, early Land Rover, old Land Rover with a Rover engine in. And the, I don't know if you know it, but where the tappet box is on the top, it's sort of about an angle of, I don't even know if it's 45 degrees. It's really steep like this, and it's all wobbly on the top, so there's no flat straight edge to bolt down to. Can't even remember how I'd done it in the end, but managed to do it. Got toe clamps this end on the cam carrier casting noses there, and then another straight edge there clamped down to stop these sliding backwards. So that works quite well, quite satisfactory. And this is what takes the time on half these jobs, is working out how to clamp the buggers down. And we've clocked it in. We've got about sort of 0.02 of a millimetre from this end. These corners are pretty good, and these are within the same sort of, you know, 0.02 of a millimetre, which is, you know, nothing, but it drops away. The head drops away in the middle there. Let's move it across. Yeah, so we'll get ahead and skim this, but you can see, yeah, it's been leaking. Gasket's been blowing all round the back here, so the gases have been getting into the waterways and probably oilways as well. And the way I machine it is keep going until I'll get a clean surface, but hopefully leave, you know, the staining where it's gone through the metal as a witness mark, so, you know, he knows that I haven't taken huge cuts off just to get it clean. So you want to take off as little as possible, so it's just a case of creeping on down to it. But yeah, we can afford to go quite deep in the first couple of cuts just to clean this face up. But yeah, they normally always go scallop around the back edge, around the exhaust outlets, because that's where all the heat is, and they just seem to, the aluminium heads particularly, just seem to sort of collapse around there. You know, so I suppose the thinness of the castings around the waterways and that, it just tends to move. We did clock it on each corner first and we found there was a bit of discrepancy, so there is a feeler gauge under this corner here to bring it up, and then there's a feeler gauge just under here where this clamp is here, just to get those corners as close to each other as possible, so that, you know, when you sort of machine it and it's finished, you know, you haven't taken huge chunks off of one end of the head sort of thing, you know, to get the other end in. So I think we're ready to go. So there you go, a couple of ways of getting dowel pins out, and also how I skim cylinder heads on my Bridgeport. All right, I hope you found it interesting. If you did, give us a little like. If you didn't, just move along. And if you want to see some more, subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Anyway, I'm going to have a stiff drink and then get ready for all the comments.
And the kings and queens of the keyboard are knocking the stuffing out of international typewriters.
All right, see you later. Bye. Yeah, take that off, Jenkins. You look ridiculous. Okay, I hear you, Mr. Tweed. We haven't got... So I'll show you the first. So there you go, there's two ways, or, you know. So there you go, another... It's getting warm in here. So there you go, another two ways of removing... Hello and welcome to Tweed's Garage, where in this video, short video, is it going to be short? Let's tidy up. God, it's a mess. It's a mess.